Welcome to episode 17 of the Lily List podcast, where our goal is to be a handbook for the living. In this episode, we're joined by Petar Krastev, a resilient and inspiring entrepreneur whose journey from a challenging childhood in Bulgaria to building a fulfilling life and business is nothing short of remarkable. Petar opens up about his struggles with loneliness, financial hardship, and finding his own path against all odds. From being forced to live in a garage to discovering faith and purpose, his story is one of strength, humility, and unwavering commitment to becoming a better person. He's now dedicated to creating positive change for younger generations in Bulgaria, aiming to leave a legacy far beyond financial success. Join us as Petar shares the raw and real moments that have defined his journey and how he hopes to serve his community moving forward. As always, visit lilylist.com for more information on the podcast and platform. You can also contact us from the website if you have questions or ideas for people or topics you'd like to hear or see in the future. If you'd like to support the work of Lily List, you can donate using the links in the description. And if you find these conversations meaningful, we thank you for liking, following, sharing, or subscribing, depending on where you listen. Thanks. Petar Krastev. Apologies if I hack that name there, but thank you for joining the Lily List podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I saw your story starting out in Bulgaria and kind of where you are now, the business you built and you're still building. And I thought that it would be an interesting conversation. So with Lily List, I like to start back to childhood. Where'd you grow up and what was your childhood like?
Sure. I grew up in Bulgaria in Varna. Varna is the name of the city on the Black Sea coast. It's a beautiful place. But back in the day, it was a very kind of declining economy. I had a very criminal surrounding around me. There wasn't a good positive role model around me. There was my brother who inspired me, but we had a very huge difference in the age and we were never close. So he was just this kind of an idol that I look up to. And I thought if he can do it, then probably I can do it. And from a very early age, I wanted to do something. But my parents weren't rich. They're very good people, but they're normal in a way. They work jobs. My mother still works the same job. She worked when I was born. She actually just got retired. So that's kind of where it all started. I was that kid below average. I never fit in the class, never fit in the group. I was very much bullied all the time. So I didn't enjoy school. I wouldn't say so. Up to a very late age, it was a hard going to school, knowing what's going to come there, and then going back home. So I grew up always with a lot of insecurities, quite a lot. And I still wanted to change them, and I had that belief that one day I can make it, but there was absolutely zero faith in me from anyone. Nobody told me I can make it. Nobody supported me when I said that I have aspirations to do something with my life from a very early age until a few years ago. Nobody around me ever believed. My parents just started believing when they saw the actual material results I can bring with my business. When I started being able to travel and organize retreats and go to expensive places. And that's when they actually started realizing that I have all these years I've been trying to do something. And that's at the age of, I'm 33 now. So you can make the calculations going against everything that people around me believed. And taking that path of trying to make it as a very young boy, I mixed up with the wrong people. There was no other option, to be honest. Maybe there was. I wasn't seeing it. There was only these guys who take drugs, who do stupid things. And I just wanted to be one of them so I can fit in and be accepted. And that's the path I took. At the age of 16 is probably when I first stepped into the gym, trying to just see if that is going to help me with confidence. And I did gain some size and it made me feel a bit better. It didn't solve the problem, but I guess that's when I first realized that training is something that can give back I didn't know what discipline is. I didn't really see the big picture. Where is that going to lead me? So I just continued living my way, trying to do some things, make money with this and that. I've always been very creative, always been open to trying things, but it was all mistakes, one after the other. Then maybe at the age of 22 is a very pivotal moment. That's a few years later when I met a girl and she became my girlfriend. Like 1 month later into this relationship, she dumped on me that she has a child. And I was 22 years old, did not know anything about life. She's telling me I have a child, a daughter. She's 2 years old. I have to look out for her. She's now with the parents of her grandparents from the father's side. The father doesn't want to look after her. He doesn't really care. And she's been through some shitstorm in her life. And I decided to be the hero. A mistake that I'm probably not going to repeat again. I made it then. I said, I'm going to do it. It's not the end of the world. If I want to be the man that I aspire to be, I should be able to look after a child and a woman. It's plain and simple. And I took that on board, but that turned into extremely toxic relationship. I rarely see something like that. I wanted to get out of this relationship very quickly. But then when she told me about the kid, she made me promise something that when we get together, she made me promise that I don't leave her in a way that she can't support herself and she has to give the child back to the grandparents, because that would have been a second going of this devastating experience for the kid and for her, and it would hurt them both extremely bad, and especially the kid. And for me, that kid was a responsibility that I took. That kid wasn't able to think on its own, make decisions, protect itself. So if I made the wrong decision and just left them, wrong or right, I don't know. But if I made that decision, the kid would have suffered quite a lot. Maybe her life would have been impacted in a very, very negative way. And that kept me going through this relationship. And that's why it ended up into extremely toxic place. I didn't want to go in home. I didn't want to step in there. I was walking the streets and after work and don't want to go home. But I had to eventually. And I was working lots of jobs, trying to pay the bills. The economy was very poor. I was selling drugs. I was doing all sorts of stupid things just to be able to support us. And we were barely kind of managing. We had to switch the places we live in because we couldn't pay the rent. We had to hire new apartments without paying what we owed to the previous ones, because that was the only way we can get away with it. And that's the stupid things we did. 1 year after that, I got fired from my job, which was probably the third time that happened in this period of 1 year. And an opportunity opened for me to leave the country and work in a car wash in the UK. And I took that on board because there was a lot of bills to pay. And also she had a condition of her teeth. So she was about to kind of lose her teeth. And I didn't want to live with a girlfriend without teeth. And I didn't want to live with a toxic relationship either. Yeah. So I said, I'm going to go in the UK in a car wash and I'll work and I'll just make some money. I thought I needed like a couple thousand, but it ended up like way more than that. But anyway, my idea was to just go and quickly either fix everything and we get back to a normal, good relationship in life, or I just break up with her and just get out of this situation. It was a case of me running away, and figuring it out outside. So I found some money, the final money that I could find. I had destroyed the relationship with my parents, with my friends, with my brother, because of a lot of stupid things that I did and the way I behaved. My mother somehow, anyway, found 500 euros. I have no idea where she found this money from. She probably asked some of her friends, because I really made it very hard for anyone at that time. And she gave me that 500 euros and I bought a ticket to Luton, UK, and 10 euros I left for me in my pocket. The rest I gave to my girlfriend to pay the bills, and until I kind of started getting paid in the UK, and I left. Then I went to this car wash where I was living in the owner's house. But the problem that I quickly realized, the car wash is dying. They have no
Mm.
work, so nobody's making money, and I wasn't making enough money to pay the rent in the house. I had no profit at all. So in 2 weeks' time, I ended up owing money to my boss for living in his house, which was as stupid as it sounds. And then I found another car wash. I left this one, and the other car wash had the same conditions, but they were busy. They were making money. But I ended up in a very, very bad place. So these guys were from Kosovo, two men from Kosovo who own a car wash that still exists, and it's like a modern slavery there. It still exists in the UK. It's there. It's been forever there. The UK does nothing about it. It's not the only car wash that lives this way. I think the UK can be the shittiest place to be if you're on the wrong side of the community. And I was being paid £30 a day, paying rent £80 per week in the house, and they were allowing me to work like 5 or 6 days. I know always like the weekdays. They were treating me like a pretty much like a slave. They were shouting at me all day long. It was very extreme. I've never seen anyone being pushed so hard to work. It was a very heavy job, 12-hour shifts, right from early start until the evening, almost no breaks at all. And it was a
Wow.
hell of a busy car wash. So extremely hard job. I was studying the language at the same time. I was having these little papers of one side I write a Bulgarian word and the other side I write the English word, and I was flipping them over, a stack of them. When I start learning from most of them, I was making a new stack and keep adding new words, and I kept learning. So at the beginning I didn't even speak anything. So in a few weeks' time I was able to say a simple sentence and have a little simple conversation. And I quickly realized I have to get out of there because it was really bad. All the money I was sending back home to pay the bills, for me was left pretty much nothing. I escaped from the car wash one day to go print my CV and search for jobs. So I went to a place to print my CV, and I walked down the road like any shop that I see that searching for more stuff. I was going inside and giving them my CV. So anything, I would take absolutely anything. And I go back to the car wash on the same night, and they told me, if you do that again, you're out on the street. And they were serious.
Wow.
And a day or two later, I receive a call, a guy from Subway, the sandwiches. He said, I want to give you a try. And I was like, yeah, I'm coming. I knew that if I go for this try, I will be out on the street for sure. So I have to make it.
Yeah.
And then I will be out on the street anyway, and I'll have to live on the street. I was happily accepting that. It was a bit of nervous experience, but that was a real job. I was going to be hired, have my documents and everything legally done. In the car wash, I had absolutely nothing. So I went for this trial. The guy liked me, the manager there. I go back to the car wash, and they saw me. They kicked me out on the street right away, just very quickly, and they were very aggressive. So if somebody in the UK is right now listening, this car wash is still there. It's on Leighton Buzzard Road in Hemel Hempstead. This car wash is doing all sorts of illegal stuff. They're not paying taxes. It's not the only car wash that does that. They're treating everyone like slaves. So yeah, go check them out. I don't think they care anyway. The police or whoever is there, they don't seem to care. Like, they kicked me out on the street, and that's how it all started. I was walking the first night, first few nights. I was walking all night long because it was cold winter. I had no clothes to warm myself up, and if I stopped, I would have died from freezing. So I had to just keep my blood moving and kept walking. For me, it was tough, but it was also kind of positive experience because I was leveling up. I was moving forward. I was making my way up. You might be in a shitty place, but if you see that you can make it, then it's doable. But couldn't still make enough money until I get the first money. I was living in a place where one woman found me a house to live in. The house was in there was work being done on the house at that time, so it was kind of free. Nobody was living in there, and they gave me the place to live for a few weeks. I think it was 3 weeks, and I still wanted to pay them. At the end, they didn't take the money, and I had something, some small amount of money, really left for me after this work, because I still had to send back home. And I couldn't rent any room for that money. I couldn't rent anything for this money. Even an office. I tried to rent an office. I couldn't afford that. And people wouldn't let me live in the office anyway. And what ended up happening is I rented a garage, a lock-up garage, where you pay online, you register online, nobody sees your face. They send you the passcode, and you go there, you open the garage, and you enter, you live like a metal door. You lift it up. It's outside a building. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. And I'll live there. I ended up living there 18 months. No electricity, no water. At the other end of Hempstead, that's like 3.5 miles away from my job. I had to walk the distance every day and come back, go to shower in the gym. I just got flooded. I had so many experiences in there. I had hernia surgery. I had a car crash when I was riding my bicycle. All sorts of shit. And all that was good. Hard work, lots of traveling, lots of challenges. But I think the hardest part was I wasn't able to go back home. I was alone, isolated. That nearly killed me. I really wanted to end my life a few times because of that. It was very hard to deal with the loneliness. So for anyone going through this, they'll probably relate. Being alone is by far the worst thing I've experienced in my life. Like deeply alone for years, and just being isolated and not being able to make friends or whatsoever. And that's now my life, going through this, sending money, making money for her treatment, which treatment ended up costing over 10,000 in pounds.
Wow. So during all of this, while this was happening, you're still connected with the girlfriend
Yeah.
back in Bulgaria.
Sending all the money, eating donuts for 60p because it's cheap. Lots of things happened, man. Lots of things. And then I found a new job as a driver for Amazon, still working in the garage. But at least I had a van now, another level. That's probably nearly 2 years later, a year and a half later, just 3 months before I moved from the garage. Then I moved to a basement of a laundry shop, because I became friends with the guy who was washing my clothes, and he offered me the place. Or I asked him, something like that. We became friends. We were trying to do things together. We kind of got along very well. At the end, we kind of split up because of a weird situation, but he's still a great guy, and I respect him. And then living in that basement for 2 years, I don't know if I got out of there or not by the time we broke up with my girlfriend. So we've been like 3.5 years, maybe 4 into the relationship. And for her treatment, I supported her and her daughter all this time. She couldn't work or do anything almost all the time. I basically kind of gave her the chance to be with her daughter and her life, something that nobody in her life could have given her. I did everything for her that absolutely nobody could do, not even her parents. They weren't even trying. And to show how grateful she is at the end of all this toxic thing, she at the day when I paid for everything, including buying a car inside in Bulgaria, on the same day, she posted a photo with her and another guy on Facebook. And we split up at that second. I called her very angry, and I was very angry. She said she's in love with him. I hung up the phone, and that anger quickly into some mixed emotions of excitement and anger. And at the same time, I was excited because I made it. I got out of it. In the right way. I didn't step out of the relationship. I didn't do the wrong thing. I achieved everything I said I'm going to achieve against all odds. I barely survived that shit. It's been years. Yes, I'm nowhere. I'm abroad. I have a job, nothing else happening in my life, but I knew I made something so big. Never imagined I would achieve something so big in my life. And that achievement, that process, the pain and the suffering that I went through, I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to put in exactly the same effort, intensity, and work, but building my own life and doing my own things. I knew I'm going to be successful. At that moment, I just knew there's absolutely no chance something stops me in life. And it's happening. It's still happening. So I tried a business then.
I'm curious about, you mentioned your mother and her working the same job. You didn't mention anything specific about your father, but that level of responsibility and commitment. So even though you weren't with her physically, you were in a different country. I mean, this went on for years. How much of that is kind of nature and how much of it is nurture from, maybe you mentioned you and your brother not being close, at least when you were younger. How much of that do you think was trying to hang on to something and have something of your own?
Yeah, that was all me trying to be a good person, because I guess my parents conditioned me that it's good to be a good person.
Yeah.
So for me, that was the only right way to be.
Yeah.
I've tried to be a bad guy when I was in Bulgaria. It wasn't my thing. I did some things. I felt guilty about it. I realized this, first of all, not going anywhere. I saw no future in that. And second
Yeah.
of all, I saw that's not me. I'm just a good person. And that's thanks to my parents. My brother had nothing to do with that. My brother treated me badly, if anything. I still love him and respect him. Now we're in a better place, good relationship. But yeah, my parents, my father, he was a carpenter. My mother, they brought me to be a good person, and that's it. I don't think it's anything to do with, maybe it's genetics a little bit, but I believe now. I believe in God. I found God quickly, a couple years after we broke up with her. He saved my life, and I realized after studying a little bit more about him that we are born without the Holy Spirit, without that spirit that makes us good people and wanting to be good and do good. So we're born more of a free spirits, free souls. So we could be anything. I think the upbringing is the key role, is what actually
Yeah.
matters.
And were your parents religious?
No,
No.
no. I remember I asked my parents, like I was very young boy, I don't know how old, but still living with them. I asked them, "Do you believe in God?" And they said, "We don't know. We we used to know things. We kind of lost it now. We don't know."
Yeah.
So now I'm actually trying to bring them back to it, because I think it's important.
And then in the UK, it seemed like years went by and you mentioned the loneliness being in the US and understanding a little bit about, say, our prison systems. We have solitary confinement. A lot of countries see that as inhumane treatment, right? Because putting somebody by themselves in a cell for a long time has very negative effects mentally on that person. But I just mentioned that because it seems it's difficult from a human perspective for me to think about you being there and working and, you know, having these interactions, but still being kind of alone for so many years.
Yeah, I've
I just
always been
wonder.
alone in the UK.
Yeah.
To answer your question, even after I learned the language, even after I found a church, even after I built community around me, I was never able to connect closely enough with people that I can be with often. I was never able to find girlfriends. I only had one girlfriend at the end of my stay there for 10 years,
Mm.
and that was unusual, because when I'm back home, I'm very easily finding friends and girlfriends and just having a good life. So the UK is a very cold place to be for somebody coming from Europe and from other places around the world.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
language barrier, the community there, it's so split up. There's people from other cultures, other places, and they all so different, and they also not used to this UK. If you're in a place where everybody's kind of super used to with the UK, it's been decades of living in there. You can get along with these people, but the reality is most of the people you meet on a daily basis, they're not like that. And those who are used to used to foreigners and being able to open up and make actual friends, not just acquaintances.
Yeah.
Those people often have families, jobs. Living in the UK is not easy. They're always busy. They're always in a hurry. You
Yeah.
can't go out and you can't just spend some time. That costs money, costs time.
Yeah.
You end up being alone, and especially at the beginning, me working at Subway, I only knew like two, three guys from the Subway, and they were just going home after that. I didn't have the money to go out in the pub and drink a beer. That would cost
Yeah.
me what, £7 at least.
Yeah.
That £7 will be 15 leva a day's pay in Bulgaria. And
Yeah.
that was what I needed to send back. So it was practically impossible to build relationships and feel like I have somebody around. It's not like I didn't try. I tried. It just didn't work. Maybe I wasn't that attract, attractive for people as well. I just came out from a very rough place. I live a very rough life. I'm not the best looking guy. I'm not you know, the guy people want to hang around with. And one thing about the UK is people have it way too easy, especially the local ones there. They don't know what hard is, a lot of them.
Yeah.
So you going in their environment and just you living super hard life, they want to stay away from you. They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, they don't want that. Even the people in the lowest class there, they don't want to mess up with people who have it so hard. They think I'm taking it too seriously or something like that because
Yeah.
I'm really trying so hard.
Yeah.
It was my life on the line and not just my life. And it had to be this way.
So I think we got up to, you had said you kind of came out of this relationship and you were trying to start a business at that point. And what
Yeah,
year is this? How old are you at this point?
20, 26, I suppose.
Okay.
About 26 years old. What year it is, we have to calculate. But uh,
6 or 7 years ago. I think
yeah,
you
I
said you
guess
were 32 or 33.
7 years ago or so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I started the business immediately, also trying to do multiple things. I had this fired up now to make money. With my friend, we started something. We're still close friends. He's the only guy who remained from my friends for these years. But then 2 years into the business, we just started making some profits and it was really growing up. But we split up the partnership because he just wanted to do some other things, and I couldn't sustain all the work myself. I was practically unable to even do some of the things he was doing. So I ended up leaving that business, and that cost me another 2 years. And again, I found myself at ground zero. And keep in mind that for somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur, who wants to be successful, who always goes against everybody, nobody ever supported me. Everybody doubted me for all my life, publicly, privately, behind my back. There was absolutely zero support, and me was alone standing there and waving my flag and saying, "You'll see, you'll see." Well, I was 28 now and they didn't see. And I knew if I continue going this way, I'll end up very miserably. I was getting depressed often. The reality was I wasn't cracking the code the way I thought I will. I spent 6 months studying successful people, trying to see what am I doing wrong? What is a mistake? And two things stood out. One was the people who are actually very successful and live this life for a very long time. They look happy. They're not just a spike in their life, made some money and then dropped. The ones who actually stand out, they love what they do and they never quit. They have these two traits. I recognize them and I knew I'm not having either. I never loved
Yeah.
what I did really, and I never sticked with it. I always quit. So I
Yeah.
said, okay, I will start from there. I kind of reverse engineer the whole thing. I think it was the right call, to be honest, for me. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but for me, definitely, it was the only thing that made sense, and now I see it pays off. So, if you remember my story sharing how I started training and I was going to the gym to just for showers, all that experience with training was positive. I never kind of wanted to go to train. It was always hard for me to get myself going and go to the gym, but always paid off. It always made me feel stronger. It made me feel better. It lifted my spirits up. And I decided if I'm going to love something, it will be sports. So I was kind of, at that point, I was skinny fat. I had no skills, nothing. I wasn't an athlete, but I had this thing in me that I know if I will start this and I work so hard, harder than anyone else, and I will not quit. So I mathematically still 28, maybe in 5 years' time, things will start happening, and it's the way it is actually. So I committed. I said, I'm never going to quit again. I will start training and I will somehow make money with that. The money part, it came after a lot of studying and experiments. My first ideas were stupid. Then I realized I have to actually help people. I started working on my own service that I didn't know exist by that time. And I got very lucky. And the reason I got lucky is because I found God. I think a few months after I committed to this sports thing idea is when I was saved. And I went to a barber shop once and the guy had a conversation with me. He said, you have to pray. And I kind of clicked with me. I had other people before telling me these things. I never listened, but I listened to this guy because of other experiences that I had and questions that I had in my mind. And I also had the realization that I'm not good enough. So for me, I just realized I'm not getting it. And I prayed and I was saved. And a miracle happened. I always remember that. From that moment onwards, everything turned around. All the negative people from my life disappeared. All the toxic things disappeared. All my bad habits disappeared. All doors opened and everything started working in my favor. And a few months into a year, maybe a year and a half into my now dedication to be a sports person, COVID hit. And then a new media platform opened. It was called Clubhouse, was all audio, and people were like obsessed with it. And I got kind of an early access into it because of an invite. And I was so blessed to be in there at that time. I founded a community, a massive community for health and fitness professionals. So I was leading an amazing community called Limitless Body and Mind. And we had experts from around the world, veterans in the industries, all sorts of PhDs and black belts and world champions and people who know this inside and out. And I was hosting this event every single day for about 3 hours for about 6 months. And we did some amazing stuff there. It changed me, it made me grow so much. And you can imagine that I learned a lot. I was the guy picking the topics and asking the questions. So anything that comes to health and fitness, anything in that area, even psychology, science, whatever, I studied it with them and I had them debate and argue inside. And it was very amazing experience to see how they argue with each other. You think you read it from somewhere and you understand it. And I thought I know it all. The moment I saw these like people with 15, 20 years of experience fighting against each other, like again, debating what's right and what's wrong, I realized, wait a minute, I will stop knowing it all. I will start just asking questions. And it was a big learning, a blessing that helped me understand, build my knowledge, expertise, and I developed my business. My business just came naturally, me trying to help people, trying to go travel to their houses, to call them, to keep them accountable. And at a later stage, I was already doing that when I realized it exists as a business model. It is called the coaching as a service. And that's when I kind of became a coach because I was just that guy. Now it's called coaching. And fast forward today, we have 5, 6 years later, a growing community. We have fitness retreat. I'm working online. I just came back to my home country a few months ago.
Wow.
That was a massive, big success and big step. And now I'm not working hard. I'm working from home. I'm still working hard, but on my own terms, and I enjoy my life. I enjoy my work, and it's just success after success together with the hard work. But it's worth it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I'm sure you work hard, but it's something you're passionate about, so it doesn't feel like work.
When you have put in so much on the line, you have sacrificed so much for this. You like it or not, you just keep doing it. And I do like it most of the time.
How is it being back to Bulgaria? I mean, obviously you grew up there, so you have a base, but you spent so much time in the UK. And when you came back, I'm making an assumption here, correct me if mine is wrong, but I'm assuming that you came back with more resources, more options to
Yeah.
live where you want, things like that. So how did that feel? What was that transition like for you?
It was surreal, to be honest. Something I wanted to do for years, but I didn't want to come back before my business is strong enough
Mm.
or before I get my British passport. So two things were accomplished. And
Cool.
that's why I came. And I think maybe for the first 2 months, I had these moments where I feel extremely anxious because I feel like I have to go now back. I have to catch my flight again and then go back to the UK. It was a very weird experience. I couldn't believe it's happening. It's actually happened. I don't have to fly back to the UK anymore.
Yeah.
I'm here. So I'm still getting used to it. I still
Yeah.
seeing things. People are different here. Now I'm on a whole another level. People around me, they don't even know about it. I'm not like waving my flag. Hey, I made it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just staying quiet and judging, kind of understanding the people, judging the situation and finding my place. I found
Yeah.
my church. I'm very blessed to have a place to live, have a church. I'm making some new friends and I work hard. I
Good.
think that peace that I found here, it's a great peace, by the way. So peaceful to back because I don't have to pay huge bills. I have a place to live, and so many things make it a better place. The sun is up every single day. I enjoy the beaches there. There's so many things, and I live so peacefully and so much better. This gives me this enthusiasm to work again good and to do good work. So now I'm really excited about my work and working on amazing projects that I would have never made it that far to work on these projects in the UK. I just didn't have that energy
Yeah.
and desire, nor the space, or there's so many things about it that make it so much better.
I'm going to summarize, but when you realize how little you know and you wanted to ask questions instead of believing you have the answers, right? So you're still adapting, you're still evolving, you're still growing. And the most successful people, and I don't mean just financially, the most successful beings, in my opinion, learn to be able to do that, right? So not
I think
assume
so.
that you know everything, ask questions, and then continue to grow, try to grow every day. And if you can do that, you have a much higher chance at having at least a peaceful life, if not a happy life.
Yeah, I think you're very much correct. I see that trait in people who are successful. You just
Yeah.
keep learning. It's a very important skill
Yeah.
and trait.
So that's a good pivot point, though. So when we think about legacy, I don't know what it's like in Bulgaria. In the US, a lot of times people think about financial legacy, right? Leaving money, which
Mm,
is great, but legacy to me is so much more. You talked about your faith and you've had a hell of a journey, right? You've learned a lot in your life and
yeah,
you're still young. So you've learned a lot with the experiences you've had. And that's massively valuable when you think about being able to take what you've learned, share it, leave it for future generations, right?
yeah.
But when you think about legacy now, early 30s, right? So you've still got a lot of life left to live. Where are you at? How do you want to be remembered at the end of all this?
So it's a very good question. And you're right, it's not all financial. I think you're going the correct direction, the same as me, which is very nice to see. I like you as a person just because of that.
Yeah.
So, there is a reason why my life was so hard from the very start. There is a reason why I didn't see a brighter future. And that reason is here in this place now, in the city, in the country. It still exists and young people still go through the same thing. I think it has changed a little bit, and it will continue changing, but I want to be part of that change. And that's what my legacy will be. I want to continue growing stronger and better. I want to just grow this business and myself to heights that as high as I can. As much as God's willing to bless me, I'll just take it on as a responsibility now to my best. And by doing that, I have plans to just change things by maybe I have some ideas to teach young people, to create place for them to grow and to inspire and to develop and to lead them and start doing something for the young and for the community here and have an impact. And my story is being shared on podcasts like yours, thanks to you and other people like you. I think it's out there. It's there's no need for me to journal, but to take action and do something with the skills. As you mentioned, there's quite a lot that I learned, and I am kind of getting used to it, and I am used to it that I do know a lot of stuff, and sometimes I realize people around actually have no clue about water of the stuff. Like if they possess the skills that I have in handling life and challenges and finding your purpose and mission and just doing something, if they possess these traits and this knowledge, they can achieve so much more. So me now being blessed with these skills doesn't mean that I just have to show them to people that I have them. I actually have to use them. So it's my responsibility to do the best possible things I can with what I've been blessed with. Like this is literally a new life I was granted with that thing, and I'm not gonna waste it. I'll just find ways to serve. Now I'll just keep growing. I think I still need to just build my own fortress, but time is coming when I'm gonna make a change, and I maybe find other people to do it with.
I've never done this before, but because you are younger and because you've had such a journey, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here, but I like to do these word games sometimes.
Okay.
So you are, I think you said 33, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say that somebody's 33 years old. They're the same age as you, but they're where you were when you were 25, right? So they're 33, but they're
in the
in a very difficult spot.
Tough.
One word, a single word for them to focus on to get themselves on the right path and move forward.
One word? How is
Yes.
it possible?
And I'm
Word.
throwing this at you. I know is also English is not your first language, so it's maybe even more difficult. But what's
No,
the most
actually,
important thing?
I know the word, the only word. If I found that word earlier and accepted it as a reality, I probably would have never gone through any of that. And it's God.
Okay.
One God.
I was thinking in my head, I was thinking say faith, but God say a similar thing. So yeah.
I have a similar thing. Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, that's all I got. So I
That's
sincerely
awesome.
appreciate it. This is a wonderful conversation.
Me too.
Really enjoyed meeting you. Thank you for being on, and I'll be watching you as you
Awesome.
go. And anything I can do to support you, feel free to let me know.
Same here, man. I really enjoyed this interview, meeting you. I think you're a great guy. I can feel the energy, the questions you ask, and I really enjoyed. It was nice.
Cool. Thanks very much.
You can't hang on to yourself. You don't have to try not to hang on to yourself. It can't be done, and that is salvation. The most important thing for anyone to realize is that you and every person you see will soon be dead.